Welcome back, everyone, to the Abundance Formula podcast. This week is a solo episode with me, and man, this has been a crazy week. I kind of feel like I've said that a lot lately, but it has just been the case. This week, Sailor on, let's see, I guess it was technically Wednesday morning, so 12:45 a.m., started throwing up and threw up every 15 to 30 minutes all the way up until like 6 o'clock in the morning. And then she started having more gaps between throw up sessions, like maybe an hour and then maybe 3 hours. And she finally stopped by around noon and then was really good. And at first I thought maybe she just had a stomach bug, but actually I'm starting to think that maybe it was something with our milk. Even though the milk was in date, we had recently opened it the day she started getting sick. And so this morning, like she didn't throw up at all last night, and I started finally giving her a little bit of milk in the evening. She just loves her bottles still. And so I gave her a couple small ones, one before bed and one in the middle of the night, just small, and then first thing in the morning. And then after having that milk, then she threw up on me, all over me during my first personal training client this morning. And so that though made me think, I feel like it's related to the milk. I think she was getting food poisoning from the milk. And because she never threw up if it was Powerade, Pedialyte, she even had like a banana and nothing else until the milk. And so I threw that out this morning. But anyways, it's felt like a mess because anybody who's had kids or whatever, it's like, that she threw up on me in the early Wednesday morning and it's dark and Malia was still asleep somehow on the top bunk. So then I was drenched in it. So we went to the shower and I washed her and washed myself. And then you are cleaning quietly with the room closed. Stripped her bed sheets, scrubbed the floor, and then I took her out and we slept on the couch. And again, like I said, meanwhile, she's literally throwing up every 15 to 30 minutes. So while I'm trying to clean up the old mess, then she'd throw up on something else. I literally feel like I washed every single towel and washcloth that we own within a matter of hours and then just started pulling from just the pile that was on the ground to keep cleaning up new stuff. And I had to unzip. Luckily, we have some furniture that was some stuff she threw up on that had zippers. So then I unzipped those and we're washing. I mean, it was just absolute chaos all through the night. So she and I didn't sleep at all. I ended up having to cancel going to work. She didn't get to go to her first day of school, parents' day out school. I mean, it's been a whirlwind. So all of that to say, that's what made me want to talk on this topic today is that my word for this year, I like to pick a word of the year, which I know a lot of people do that. So mine this year that kind of just intuitively came to me and no other words came to me. So it's truly just these two really. And they're the same, just kind of interchangeable, but surrender and release. So kind of same things. That was for whatever reason my word for this year. So when I pick a word for the year, it then always is what comes to mind when I'm stressed or striving or things aren't going my way or whatever the thing is. My word for the year always tends to be what pops up for me and gets me through whatever the thing is at hand. And it's been different for every year. Like last year was action. And so, massive action. So every time something would come up, that would just come back to me, massive action, just keep taking massive action, whatever. So then this year though, it's so interesting how when stuff comes up, whether it's work, family, fun, whatever it is, the answer is to the problem at hand or the thing at hand that is always surrender or release. And so I'm so glad that was my word for this year because I feel like I've had to do so much of that this year. But in doing that, the outcomes have always worked out. But what I'm noticing this year is I've had way more peace until that outcome came about because I surrendered it. I surrendered the circumstance that God's going to work out. The answer that I need is going to come in the right timing. All these things that I normally like to feel are in my control, which doesn't mean that they are, but like when you feel like they're in control, especially things like timing or progress or life gains, those are things I like to feel like are in my control. And really, for me personally, those are in God's control is what I believe. And I'm just a part of that process as he chooses to use me. And what I found this year too, is sometimes God's point is not that you he even needs us at all to do the thing that we're praying for, that he's already got so many other things behind the scenes orchestrated that are working together for us, that sometimes he wants us just to be still. Sometimes he wants us just to sit in a state of surrender and trust that he's going to handle it all. And so this year, that's what keeps, I've been learning so much this year, is that there's time for striving and there's time for surrender and release of things, releasing your grip on stuff so that God can really make it all it can be, because us clinging to what we think we want to create for ourselves is actually holding us back from what's possible. So that's been the lesson I've learned this year. And so in things like this, I had plans. I was supposed to go to work Wednesday. I wanted the money from going to work that day. I had things to do, stuff on the agenda, and I've gotten in sequence since this year of just, again, release, surrender. It's all going to work out. Just continue to rest, do the thing that's next at hand. And so I've been able to get through really stressful times like that with so much more peace, because instead of putting the pressure on myself to get it all fixed, worked out, etc., I've let it go where it really, in my opinion, belongs, which is with God. And I wanted to share with you guys this really cool acronym that Marshawn Evans, who wrote this really great devotional called Dream Bigger, that I've been doing this year. She has an acronym for trust. So TRUST. She calls it total reliance upon spiritual timing. So I thought that was so cool that not only this year was my word of the year was surrender and release, that it was in January, or maybe a month or so afterwards, that I discovered this randomly in Walmart. I liked the color scheme, honestly. It's what attracted my eye. It's the devotional Dream Bigger. Flipped through it. It was like just resonating with me. It was all the things I'm kind of working on right now in life. And so I loved it. So I bought it. And it's had so much content about this whole release surrender phase, and so much of it linked to this concept of us letting go of timing, of our vision of what timing should be and what that should look like. And so I loved that acronym, total reliance upon spiritual timing. And so, again, that's what I've been doing through hard times like this. And so the other thing that I've paired with this release/surrender is, especially being type A, especially being an entrepreneur, having little kids in a family that you're, providing for, it's easy to get caught up in the striving and to even enjoy the striving. And I did a podcast a little while ago talking about hustle culture versus anti-hustle culture. And I'm very much on the side of that hustling is not bad, as long as you have a purpose behind your hustle that you align with and that fills you up, because then that hustle isn't a toxic hustle for you. It is fulfilling and it is fueling. But paired with that, though, hustle also is partnered with surrender and release. And that's what I've learned this year, is that, so when I'm in release mode, when I'm like, okay, I'm feeling that I've hustled a lot, and God's like, Jeana, really surrender this thing, stop focusing on this thing. Or sometimes it's looked like, I want to let go of some things that to me are following the fun. And I'm like, I should not do that thing that's fun or fulfilling to me, because I should focus on things that are already monetized. I should focus on things that I can see the immediate monetary gain from and can get tunnel visioned on that. And that's when this word pops in my mind of, no, surrender that. You've put in enough action towards that thing, so go follow the fun. And so that's been a message that's come through to me this year, is follow the fun. Okay, so I've started doing some more things, hobbies or just whatever, that are just fun to me. I focused, like, as you guys heard on the last podcast, I'm going to do fitness competitions again. Yeah, in the future, like when I turn pro, that could, produce a monetary gain. But in this immediate time right now, in this especially off-season prep time, I'm not experiencing monetary gain from that. And I'm not doing it to try to produce monetary gain. I'm specifically doing it because I'm following the fun. I'm following something that used to light me up, that I put on pause for a while because I was literally having babies. So it wasn't something I could do at the same time as everything else in that season. But now I'm in a place that it, came to my intuition that, hey, this is something that used to really light me up. And despite how busy I was when I was competing before, I was able to do it, and all these other things I was pursuing at that time were actually amplified by me following that fun, quote, hobby or other side pursuit, everything else actually was elevated by doing that. So I thought, I'm going to compete again, or just feeling fine to leave my phone and just play with the girls and not have it out there in case somebody needed me, a client or whoever. It was like they don't have to be I don't have to be available to clients all the time. I can if I choose that, but I don't have to choose that. That's me surrendering. Hey, I put in enough work hours through XYZ time. It can be easy to get addicted to that striving of like, well, if I let myself be available every single day and every single weekend for anything that I might could capitalize on, it's going to take a little from that fun or focus or presentness in the thing I want to be focused and present on that could be fun and fulfilling to me. But so it's just like a ball and chain though. So I've started letting that go. And so things like that have come to mind where I've started to follow the fun again, or even more this year. Cause I would say last year, like I said, it was massive action mode. So followed the fun a little less and pursued, life gains at that point. But this year, that's not been the theme. This year, it's been, okay, I've continued to put in action, but when I feel the intuitive pull to surrender and to put the phone away and leave it inside, to let go of it and truly not feel guilty and be at peace with like, if there's some sale I'm supposed to get, God's going to bring it to me. Not because I had my phone out there while I was playing with the girls on the playground, but because he willed it to be and that his timing's perfect. And he doesn't need me for any of it really. So same things like that, where I'm going to amp up my fitness journey. I'm going to put a little more time into this and effort into this and intentional um, thought and food prep. I'm gonna add this into my life because it's fun to me and it gives me another energy source. And despite the fact that this isn't putting forth some monetary gain, I'm not worried about that. God is going to bring so many other doors about because I'm in the energy of fun. And that's something that I kind of wanted to share, is that like when we can lean into things that seem so unimportant to the life gains, um, we can actually open up doors that we could never actually shove open ourselves. There's some doors that can only open through complete and total surrender. And that you can never force open. And those are the real magical doors. Those are the real big deals. And so, and that's something I love about this podcast is when you listen to a lot of these epic people stories, they've put in tons of hustle. They've put in tons of action. They've done the do, right, to get where they are in life. But when you hear about these pivotal moments in their life, or even, these pivotal wins that came about because of small compact action, it ultimately wasn't something that they directly controlled. It was something that, right, there was total reliance upon spiritual timing. It was the right time. And all the things they had done up to this point supported that timing. And so that's just something I've learned this year so far and going to continue to learn. And that has given me comfort in ridiculous, crazy times like right now with the sickness and just everything's feeling like craziness. Even now, my two kids have just walked in the door. One was completely asleep. And, it's like I can have so much peace that everything's going to work out and for everything happens for a reason. And there is some purpose behind everything that happens, even if it doesn't seem to be going my way. It's all part of this giant orchestration. And I know my husband and I were actually talking about this before. There's things that he can get upset about, like whether it be on the road, like traffic stuff, like somebody cut you off, or everything went wrong. Your navigation took you the wrong direction, so it was making you late to work, and all these things that weren't going your way on the path. And through this process of me learning surrender and release, I'm like, although that was frustrating, though, what if God was using that both not only for your gain? What if you were able to go the correct path to work, but that would have led you into a car accident that you would have died in or become, disabled from? Would you not take the alternate route? Would you not take the detour? Would you complain about that detour? Or what if because you got detoured, it created a ripple effect to then make somebody else have to go a different route, or to have made somebody else 30 seconds later to a situation that they might have gotten hurt? Would you still take the detour? Of course we would. The thing is, we don't all get to see the overall picture all at once. And we wish we could, because if we could, then the really hard times and the frustrating times and when things don't go our way, we'd be like, yes, we will take that, even though because it's helping somebody else down the road, it's changing somebody else's life, or it's going to save me in the end, whatever it is, we wouldn't change the thing ultimately if it was what was going to help the overall good of everyone in life in this greater purpose. So now what we have to do is just sit in the faith of knowing that that is still what's happening, whether we get to see it or not. Would you? Okay. It's still happening. So it just comes back to, again, that trust factor. And so for me, that's been a huge thing I've learned this year is surrender, release, leaning back on that acronym of trust and the faith that I can rest in peace. Pulling back sometimes, I can rest in peace and what may seem like inaction, but the choice of surrender and peace and being choosing to give the control over to God fully on certain circumstances and follow the fun and trust I can go follow the fun and he's got it, has really produced greater results and joy in my life. So I just wanted to share that with you all this week as we've been going through some stuff. And I was just hoping that maybe that could help somebody out there listening as well right now. So hope you guys have a great rest of your week. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my kids are here making goofy faces and waving at this point. But thank you all for being here each week. Always feel free to let me know any topics that you would like to hear about or any guests that you love. I can try to get them on. Thank you guys so much for showing up every week, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Talk to you later. Bye.